Welcome back to another episode of Who Should You Choose Season 4 XP Path in NHL 25 is being released today. So if you want to watch along, stream twitch.tv/NoSleeves12. We'll break it all down. See who the new player is. We did get a teaser yesterday, and I love the internet. You guys are insane. So I saw this. This is from Reddit, I believe. I apologize, I don't have a person. Shelfie on Twitter kind of put this together, though, as they tweeted out this image, and then you guys are just absolutely insane on the internet, because this is legitimately the picture, and someone even, like, unblurred out the image, and you can, like, see the senator, so it looks like we're getting Brady Tkachuk. Love that. As someone who loves Brady Tkachuk, I think this is a really fun player. It's another lefty. So a lot of people are probably going to be upset about that. But nonetheless, I really enjoy the player. And you know what? It's funny. The Four Nations event made me hate Dylan Larkin because he was so good. And like a little bit, not like the Kachucks, but they made me want them on the Sharks so bad just because they're so fun to watch. Nonetheless, I don't know, that was off topic. Nonetheless, we did also get the movie made on iPad, the helmets, and in it I said we're probably never getting this to Hut, but it turns out in the store they actually gave us a choice pack. I'm going to open it live with you guys, where the new custom designed helmets are actually now in the game in Hockey Ultimate Team, which is awesome. So I think these are like legit helmets, and they had an artist actually make them. Weird collaboration, but it's been like 15 years since we've got new helmets added into the game. So I absolutely love this. We got Joseph Wall. Yeah, we'll go with Joseph Wall, obviously. So, all right. So you can go into the store and you can get that done. It is unfortunate. Brought up something that I hadn't really thought about before, and that's we can't we should be able to reuse customization items like numbers and all that stuff. Like, it sucks when you put them on the card and like that's it. There's no going back or changing, especially with something like this, because if you put that, like, let's say you're a New Jersey Devils fan and you have Markstrom, right, who's like a legit NHL goalie in Hut, or a popular one, you can put that helmet on Markstrom, and that's a sick combo. I'd love to be able to do that with any of the Sharks, like Askarov or something. But nonetheless, I did just want to get you guys an update on that. So let's get into today's questions and comments. And again, we will have a stream, and I'll have a video going over the entire drop from the new XP path, as well as the new content today, 97 Ekholm. So for all of those that celebrate, I'll make this a little bit bigger here for you guys. Whoops, 1 second. There we go. So we'll start things off with Josh. He says, I just got into Hut thanks to your videos. I used to play a lot of FUT, and I find that it was a lot more user-friendly and was easier to understand what to do. Always had something to do in game, where NHL seems to have minimal challenges and way less rewards. Love the videos. Keep it up. 100%. I think what NHL suffers with the most is that because the player base is so small, it's like they're so conservative with rewards, because if they give out just exponential rewards, technically everyone would be able to benefit. But the problem is that when you have the hardcore player base, which represents a lot more of the player base than other video games, right? The separation of teams from newer players just trying to get in completely widens, and they're like scared of that gap. I've never understood why they can't just give us more stuff. And I have to believe that that's why. And they're just, because there's such a smaller player base. I don't agree with that. But I think that's, and this isn't like a content team thing from like, this has always been an issue that I've had with Hut, is that they just seem so conservative when it comes to giving out stuff. And they do give out quite a bit of stuff this year. But, in terms of other games, like I play MLB and it's not even close. And FIFA, same thing. It's not even close. So something that I would love to see. NHL needs to add a mode like Madden's online squad battles to where we can use one person's offense and your buddy's defense, combine the team together, and verse two other players online. It would make the game so much more enjoyable for players who like to play with their friends rather than endless online solo grinds. It gives an option and still gains XP whether you decide to play together or make it solo. It may take longer to find a game, but some of us are willing to wait a minute or two to find and play with friends. Brother, I have been preaching this in every game changer call that we've had about, like, like every round, like around like April, we'll get like a state of what's coming kind of situation. And every time we have those meetings for the last like 5 years, I've said that because EASHL is like the most played mode in Hut. The one thing or in NHL, the thing that blows my mind is that, hey, what if you just were able to complete Hut stuff with your World of Chell buddies, you know? And I think NHL would be such a fun thing if you could do a Hut Champs run or even rivals or squad battles, it doesn't matter, where you could just everyone brings, you bring right wingers, someone plays center, so it's four centers, someone brings left wing, they bring their left wingers, defense and goaltenders, right? I just think that'd be so much fun, and then everyone can play. It would be such a good marriage of it, and then everyone gets the objectives complete. So if you win, everyone gets a win. um God, it would be so much fun, man. The collaborations that I would do, like with real NHLers, if I could, play with them in Hut and do like, a champs run or rivals or something, would just be so much fun. I completely agree. I've been saying this for years. It blows my mind that it hasn't been more of a thing where you can play Hut with your buddies. And I don't just mean play, I mean like get access to the rewards by playing, the XP, all of it. It all counts together, right? With the current state of the market, do you recommend using untradeable 87s or 86s, non-event cards in the 84 plus set to make MSP cards, or should we wait for the set shift up to 86 plus? I have drawn the line at 85s. I won't do 86s because at some point, the 84 plus is going to become 86 plus. And just based on pack pulls, the thing that doesn't change all year round is the pack pull odds do not change. It is harder to pull an 86 than it is an 84. That is just how it is, right? So there will always be more 84s than 86s. So at some point, this is the major flaw, right? And so if you're desperate, like if you could only make it MSP, you're running out of time, then yes, you could go ahead and do that. But in all honesty, like it seems like they're getting into a groove. Like very rarely have they done the same thing more than twice, right? And the last two events have been exactly the same. They've gotten rid of just 86 of any item and they've made it an event item, which I don't agree with because again, they are undoing what the prior content team did, which was make overalls of any overall matter. And they are undoing that, which is, again, a big theme that they've done this year is they're just undoing anything that was done in the past. So while it is still easy to make it MSP, if you, play your stuff, do your objectives, all of that, it's absolutely devastating to the market. I personally would not trade in 86s and 87s unless it was absolutely necessary. I would stop at 85s and then I would wait. Sleeves, if a player already has 99 power and accuracy on their shot and has an ability on top of that, do they essentially get above 99 stats in that area? Like if I take a snapshot with Sharpshooter's Nylander with Make It Snappy, will it still give me added bonus? Thanks. So my go-to gameplay dev, I believe, moved on. So I don't really have someone that I can like reach out to with full confidence and get an answer on these kind of questions. But someone brought, it might have been Thrash. It was brought up in the Game Changer chat a couple months ago about this, and don't take this as gospel as like 100%. But I would have to go back and look. But I'm almost positive when it comes to abilities on top of 99, it actually does go above. Which is why Elite Edges appears better than in years past. So in the first 2 years of Elite Edges, you can ask Eki as well. I did a video with Eki a couple years ago, or maybe it was last year, about Elite Edges, and that at the beginning of the year, it's one of the best abilities because it can almost max out your agility. And agility is very noticeable when it's much higher than the rest of the player base. But then at 99, it like lost its effectiveness. Now it's just good always, and I think it's because abilities allow the attributes to go above 99. I'm like 75% sure on this. So I don't want to see a Reddit post and be like, Sleeve said this is how it works. I'll have to go back and check and double check and maybe try and reach out to, I don't know, whoever's doing gameplay once I find out who that is, and see if I can get an answer to that. But from my understanding, I think, yes, it does go above. For the best players in each position video, include team of the years, but do the top 5 instead of top 4 in each position, and also don't include fantasy because they are obvious if they're 99 rated. So someone was asking yesterday about doing a best of each position video. I like to do these every once in a while. I used to do them really regularly, but I feel like things don't really change that much because progression is so slow this year, that we really don't have that big of a change. But I definitely will do a best of each position video. I will do it Thursday. Okay. And I'll include team of the year items. All right. So, but if they're 99s of fantasy items, like, no, just because like they're not obtainable. I can say I do feel better with my lower overall squad. I feel I win more, but my God squad is way higher ranked, and I just don't notice it as much because I have more fun on my lower squad. This was talking about Ice Tilt. And again, I don't want to keep bringing this up because then I feel like it then continues comments going forward and forward. So this is my last thing I'll talk about Ice Tilt, all right? I mentioned that if Ice Tilt was real in every game, then whoever has the worst team would just automatically win, which isn't the case. And then I also explained that if you use a better team, it's worth about 100 to 150 skill rating points. I'm talking about if you're full no money spent and you play the same amount, and then if you spend an exponential amount of money. So I used to spend 1,000 at launch and then 1,000 around team of the year, or like leading up to it. And then I would kind of stop because I would get all the best players on my team. It was like what my content was based around. And then I realized what a stupid thing that was, and I stopped doing it. And if I go back and look, it's about 100 points, about 100, 150 points. Right now, it's the difference between Division 1 and Division 2. But on top of that, I also don't do what's necessary to make Division 1 anymore. The L2 backskating, all that stuff this year. But that being said, this is something that the reason why I want to point this out, what Cole said, I don't notice as much because I have more fun in my lower squad. There's something to that. Like, you're noticing your wins more because you feel like you have to work harder with a lower team. Whereas when you have a great team, you're like, I can't get a better team. Why am I losing? The first thing you want to do is blame someone else. And I totally understand that. No one wants to play a game and then be like self-reflecting and be like, you know what? I was ass cheeks in that game, and I don't blame anyone, man. Like I said, no one goes to work and then wants to come home and then beat their brains in by some, sweat teenager that is just, cranking around the controller. Like, no one wants to be like, that one's on me, right? But a lot of times sometimes it is. It is just on you. Hey, Slaves, I'm in need of a new right-handed forward. Who's the best? Sharpshooter Nylander or Team of the Week again? Thanks. I have heard nothing but great things about the Team of the Week at Ginla. I believe, I would assume the cost might be somewhat similar. Nylander cards have been very good. I'm really liking his X Factor card, and it's very similar to his Sharpshooter card. In a vacuum, I'm going to say Ginla. Again, I haven't used him. I've used his hologram card, and he hasn't been anything special. But I've, legitimately, every single person that I've heard in my streams chat that has come in and said his Team of the Year card, or Team of the Week card has been fantastic. Hello, Sleeves. Are the goalie iPad mask one-time use? Thank you. Keep the great content. Yes. This is, what I was talking about earlier in the video. It's unfortunate. I wish that it wasn't, but, I'm assuming that's a tech thing, and they haven't coded it in to allow us to repeat use. Where do you find posts from EA showing the upcoming events? So the last one, let me see if I can grab it. The last one, they'll tweet it out. EA Sports Roadmap NHL. I think. Apologize, the video is going to be a little scuffed. The holiday roadmap, here it is. I can pull it up. I think it's a tweet. That's the thing. I think it's a tweet that has it. Twitter. Maybe this is it. Sorry, it's usually on Twitter. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I also have videos. That'll go over it. Actually, I can't find it. So the next event is Speedsters. I know that, and then I can't quite remember what comes out. I'm just trying to quickly. I apologize. This is probably scuffed for the video. But if I go through, I think there is. I thought there was a screenshot of it. It's Sharpshooters was now, and then Speedsters is next. And Speedsters is interested here. Is this it? Nope, that's not it. Speedsters. Oh, here we go. So is this it? Yes, this is it. Okay. What's the best way to do this? I'll go like this. And then I'll go like this. Okay. So I don't know if I can zoom in. So we've got Four Nations Face Off, Sharpshooters, Warp Speed. Sorry, Warp Speed. And then the following event after Warp Speed is Cornerstones. So they're trying new events. Warp Speed, I have a feeling is going to be exactly like Sharpshooters. So unless you have a favorite player in Sharpshooters, I'd probably hold off because I would guess that everyone has 99 speed and everyone has free skating abilities, whether it's elite edges or wheels or whatever, which would obviously be one of those like gallery of greats, gotta make as many as you can type events. So I'll be very curious to see what they do with that, honestly. The MSP path sets annoy me like crazy. In prior years, each overall had a value towards building an MSP. Having 85, 87, having the same values in 84 ruins the value in the market. 100% agree. This is here's what I would love. I would just love to hear from the content team why choose this route. Because I feel like when we have complaints, right? And they zig when we're like, yo, do this instead, right? They zig when we zag, right? I would just love to hear from them. This is why we're going this route. This is what is intended. This is what we think is the most beneficial for the player. If they just explained it, some of it might make sense because a lot of the times when I do event recap videos, right, I sit there for like 30 minutes and I'm like, it can't be as bad as what we think. There has to be something, and the flow of the event or whatever they're releasing has to make a little bit more sense. And usually at the end, we come to a conclusion of like, okay, this is what they were trying to do. There's just no explanation. There's no explanation in game, or it's usually very vague. There's no communication from the content devs. Like, this is where having somebody like what they do with Madden, like the Monday Morning Madden, or in FIFA, or they just were like, if I did my event videos, but I had a dev come on with me and kind of explain it, then and have some sort of back and forth, right? Like, I don't know what we're missing, but maybe from the players that we don't hear from. The casual player base, guys, makes up like 90% of the player base. You never hear from the casual player base, which is why I always try and think of the casual player more. This is something I've learned of being a creator, of just like when I was like so hyper focused on like the 1% issues, then I would see all this backlash and I learned from it, right? And the reason why I try and think about the casual players is because maybe, again, we don't hear from them. Maybe in the background, the content team is seeing massive use of sets and things are working as intended, but the hardcore player base, it's not what is best for us, and it kind of stinks. I don't really think that's what's happening here. I think that this is like maybe a store driven thing. I don't know. I honestly, I can't understand it because the old content team, it took a few years. I remember Nicholas specifically talking about going to a Madden format where Madden is very much like this, where it's like trade in 284s, getting 85, trade in 285s, getting 86, right? And that was what they did, and it took a few years to iron out. And then last year, it like worked well. Like every overall had a value, and that keeps the value for every single card. And in a year where we receive so much less cards weekly, which means that every card is worth the most it's ever been. Think back to the launch of the game. 77 overalls were going for 5,500 coins. Like, absurd, right? And as the game's gotten along, they've ruined the value of cards because the sets don't need stuff, right? And I hope we see a fix. I really do. I have no hope for NHL next year's NHL HUD at all. NHL 25 feels like a beta we did pay money for. I've said this for sure. I said this in my last video. I've said this in the last couple of videos. NHL 23 was a gameplay beta full year. I'm not even talking like a meme. Like, we didn't receive a single gameplay update. What we got at launch was what we got throughout the whole year. We had the glitch wrap. Every Division 6 player could use it. It is, in my opinion, the worst top to bottom gameplay we've ever gotten. Maybe other than NHL 18. And it sucked because they clearly had a stance of like, we're going to focus on 24 and actually making a lot of changes year over year. And I've mentioned that whether you agree with them or not, 23 to 24 had the most year over year changing gameplay that we've had maybe in a decade. And again, that doesn't mean it's good. It just means that there was drastic changes. And it feels like that's what's happening with the HUT content team. They're just taking data in. They didn't do it last year. They didn't, find a way to outsource it and try new things, and they're basically like, here's the game, here's the content, we're gonna mess with a bunch of stuff, and next year we've got it figured out. That's my hope. like I said, there is no way that Hut made as much money as the prior years. Zero chance. There's no way to access that number publicly, but there is no way that they came anywhere close in terms of pack sales. So when that happens, then the guys who own yachts at EA, they get off their yachts and they start figuring out what's going on, right? And I think that's what's I mean, I'm not even talking about NHL. FIFA legit lost like $100 million, like a crazy amount of money. When you saw that EA lost like $4 billion in valuation, it wasn't all just Dragon Age. A ton of it was FIFA. So I think we're going to see some pretty big shakeups. And I've come to realize when it comes to Ultimate Teams, the majority of the player base is old. I told this story. Someone that I play baseball with, her son is 14, and his favorite game is NHL. And I was sitting down with him one day, and she was like, he plays NHL, like that's what to the extent. And I was like, well, what modes do you play? And I was waiting for Hut or ESHL, and he's like, I play Be a Pro, and I'm like, really? I'm like, how come you don't play Hut? And he was like, I don't have time or money. And I was just like, dude. That, like, I never thought about that. You just assume that teenagers in your high school are playing Ultimate Team. When I think back to when I was in high school, I just played Versus. And because the game requires so much time input, the only people available to do that are college kids, because you have exponentially more time, which is funny, than high school, because your days are pretty much chalked from start of the day to the end of the day, Monday to Friday. College, you could have a day where you have 1 hour class and you're on your own. And two, like people that like work at home or just like have exponential more time because your life has been settled and you have an hour or two at night every night, right? So it's a lot of an older player base. And I've realized with MLB making drastic changes the last 2 years, I give them props because they tried a couple of different things that were so out of the box that I really thought would be the future of Ultimate Team, and it failed because we just want what we want. We always say this is the same thing over and over again, but humans hate change, and part of me feels like we know what we want, and if you just maximized what we wanted or what we want, then it'll be better than coming up with these crazy new out of the box changes. And I don't know, maybe I'm on an island there, but I feel like that's what's happened. That's going to do it for this episode of Who Should You Choose? Again, new XP path is coming out. We'll see who the chase card is. I think it's Brady Tkachuk. But nonetheless, I'll have a video breaking all of that down. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.